Good evening, folks, and welcome to a Thursday night edition of Ridgecrest Talk. I'm your host, Al Huey, along with my partner, Robert Eierman, and we're continuing our discussion that we had last time with Stu and Kathy Fields. Again, thank you for being with us. We appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, we very much appreciate taking your time.
To talk about this stuff.
Yeah, it is. And we've been talking about water, and last time we were here, we ended with Mr. Fields talking about if he was in control of the situation, the three things he would do, and he had mentioned two of them. One was to stop all ag, and the second was what now?
You have to import water.
Have to import water, and the third we never got to. What would be the third?
Combination of the first two.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And let's talk about that first one, getting rid of all ag. How would you propose to do that?
Eminent domain has been used by the feds, has been used by the state of California over and over again to acquire property that they needed.
I've never heard of eminent domain in a situation like this, having to do with
I haven't heard of it being used in water, but that doesn't mean it can't be used.
Well, it would be quite a legal battle, I think.
Either way, you're going to have a legal battle.
Yes.
If you're going to import water, you're going to have a tremendous legal battle. If you set up a GSA like the state has done, you're going to end up with litigation.
Well, I might disagree with you on the legal battle of importing. If the state's got all this control over the water situation here in the state of California now, setting up these GSAs and having to come up with the GSP, the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and giving all this power to these GSAs, we have a pipeline that runs water right down through the valley here. What would prevent them, the state, from telling Los Angeles, you're going to have to let them tap into it and they're going to pay fair value for the water that they use? Do you see a problem that would prevent them from doing that?
I see a problem because just here recently they dammed up that aqueduct up above there because of other commitments they had for that water. Owens, Lone Pine, Bishop, Independence, and all that. They've got already legal commitments to them to furnish water. Mm-hmm. I saw a video of them with a backhoe filling that aqueduct up with dirt. They dammed it off.
Yes.
Really?
Because of commitments they had upstream from us. Yes, I say that LA aqueduct solution is not reliable at all, especially when how many million of people down there in LA start competing with us for that water. I just don't see that that's a viable solution.
Well, they might do it in such a way that Robert's talked about in the past, in that the money that we would pay for that water would be whatever the value is, but maybe in addition to that value, and then they would be directed to put in desalination plants.
Oh, no, that really works. We worked on desalination plants over the Marshall Islands. Reverse osmosis machines, unless you have a real big one, throws 3 gallons of water back into the ocean for every gallon of fresh water you take out. Well, the new ones are now 50%. So every gallon of desal water that you produce, you've thrown 1 gallon back into the ocean that's high salt. It kills off the fish. It kills off all sorts. We had problems in the Marshalls already with those RO machines. So that's not a real good solution.
Well, how is
and
it
that's a gallon every time you use it. It's not 1 gallon and then that's an end and you kill off a few fish. It's billions of gallons on an annual basis that keep going into all of the ocean.
How do they do it over in the Middle East where
they've got a little different set of EPA rules than we do, I'll tell you.
Well, and they certainly did it in the El Paso.
That's right.
And that was with brackish water. But there are ways around that. I could build huge settling ponds to settle out the salts and then put the less salty water back into the ocean. There are ways that it can be done. And all I'm saying is I don't know of any other solution. I'm not arguing with you that although convenient and maybe easy, the LAWP aqueduct may not work. But certainly we've got to find some source.
Let's say that it did work. How do you recharge the aquifer? Or do you just pipe it in here and you service Ridgecrest and Triangle Lake, but all the private well owners are screwed?
I would hope not.
How do you get it in the aquifer?
I would never support anything like that. It has to be an equal and distribution and with an equal cost and that kind of thing. But I'm not.
Would you run pipelines to all the private well owners?
Well, if you use that water rather
It'd
than...
be cheap. It'd be cheaper to buy ag out. Trust me.
I'm not saying that isn't a good solution.
Yeah.
But some way in which to provide more water that's not pumped out of the ground seems like a reasonable solution. Let's take the wastewater plant and deliver that water to the farmers.
Again, you got a delivery system to worry about.
Absolutely.
And you got 19 million gallons a day of water to deliver to the farmers.
But
But again, we can
there's
sit
got
here
to
with
be a
just
solution.
opinions, but let's get data stuck in here somewhere. Let's get some numbers stuck in.
Again, you know, you've had data from Austin and you had data
I
from
got data from UC
Eierman.
Davis.
You've got two different opinions here, and what we've got to settle on is what is the real, honest opinion.
I'd like
It's
to.
not an opinion, it's hard data.
Okay, but
Yeah.
Austin had data too.
No matter how you cut it, you're going to import water here because.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
No question. You
Even
can't
to-
conserve your way out of this.
No.
No.
Even if you eliminate ag and we use your data, we aren't very
But we gain
self-sufficient.
time. We get some time to explore where we get this water from.
I don't disagree with you. Our only debate is you feel the time is short, year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I feel that the time frame is more like 20 years. We're on the
I don't
same
know where you get
page
the number from, but
based upon all the research that I've done and based upon what I evaluate. But so we're not arguing difference of opinion here. We're arguing difference of how long we think we got before the hammer falls.
and before the potable water gets invaded by the brackish water, which has
At-
already occurred at Neal Ranch
Yeah.
That's right.
and already occurred out on the base too.
And how much is the water quality going to degrade
It's,
with
mine is already
dissolved
degraded.
solids?
I've got two things on my water quality. We just finished the test. Two things were outside of EPA recommendation.
I hear you.
Significantly
One of
outside.
them in IWV Water District, they have an argument over whether that is really bad or not. They didn't take the EPA's data.
Well, unfortunately, again, we have to take another break. Something we have to do here to pay the bills. So join us on the other side of the break and we'll continue this discussion.
And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk, the Thursday evening edition. This is segment 2 of our discussion with Stu and Kathy Fields. And obviously we're talking about water. I'm Robert Eierman, along with co-host Al Huey. And so where were we?
We were talking about how much time we have left.
Yes, that's
We have two different opinions here. The opinion with the data you claim.
I don't know how much time we got left.
Okay.
And the idea that I keep trying to say.
You don't want to gamble, is what you're saying.
I don't want to gamble millions of private people's income or savings and investments in their houses to take a chance on this, especially since we've already seen 2 areas of brackish water show up here, wiped out Neal Ranch. They couldn't even produce alfalfa there anymore.
Right.
So
Actually, I think it
bad-
might be 3 because didn't the IWV Water District claim that one of their wells was too brackish to actually use?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so we're engaged
individual
in a
wells have gone
process
too.
that is dumb, to say the least. We're overpumping our aquifer. That is a dumb process. I've got water in my well. I'll frankly tell you, I'm 79 years old. I'll have water when I die out there. I may have to put one hell of a filter on it, but I don't have to engage in this fight at all. But I hate to see a process so dumb. All we've been doing since the 60s and before is kicking the can down the road.
Oh,
More
absolutely.
meetings
You're
and
absolutely
more
right.
asking for data, more. They haven't been doing a damn thing.
And what brought it to the table really is this drought that
Yeah.
California is in. Of course, we're not in a drought here.
No.
But it's
Well,
irrelevant. We're not part of the rest of the
We need to
California
explain
drought.
why we're not.
We
Go
don't
ahead.
depend-
Go
number
ahead.
one, we don't depend on surface water.
Right.
Number 2, we've had a lot of rain this year, and evidence of that is the
Just drive around the valley.
yeah, just drive around the valley, drive on your way down to Mojave or whatever else, drive over 58, any of those things, you'll see lots of greenery that is unusual for this time of the year. So an actual drought, this valley, in my opinion, is not in, based upon the evidence that I observed.
So why are we having to do all these restrictions on residential water? You're not under that. You have your own well.
Right.
Because the
But-
state mandated it.
But we're not
Yes.
in a drought here.
We are part of California, so
But you're in
that
an
ruling.
overdrafted aquifer, critically overdrafted, which they've proven.
But that has nothing to do with the drought.
No, not the drought.
The drought was
Okay.
based upon the availability of surface water. We don't use surface water here. So, unfortunately, the
kind of
good
an
or
irrelevant
bad
question.
that the governor is trying to do really doesn't apply to us. It doesn't apply to a lot of other areas in Southern
But your
California.
aquifer has been dropping since 1913.
I'm not arguing the
So
aquifer.
we're critically
Yeah,
overdrafted.
I don't
Those that
agree with
are customers of IWV Water District are having, by the state, mandated to conserve 36%.
And that
Yes.
won't even make a pimple on this problem.
That's right.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. So the question becomes, why is it that the citizens of this valley, served by the Indian Wells Valley Water District, are bearing the entire brunt of the governor's order? Well, it's because the governor didn't have the whatever to impose the same criteria on agriculture. He didn't distribute the didn't distribute the conservation equitably.
Can't argue at all with that one.
Okay. And there's lots of citizens that have the argument that you're putting it all on us, but you devote 50% of the water available in California for environmental concerns. You devote an awful lot of it to agriculture, and neither of those suffers any penalty. It's just us, the people who are just wanting to live and be left alone and have some water, that you're picking on.
And then again, they set up this GSA thing. Now, you talk about a pretty one, and cost.
And- who the
that
heck's-
will go on forever, and it will grow, and their budget will grow like any other
And
agency.
who's going to pay for that?
Yeah,
The only people that ever pay for anything.
taxpayers.
Yeah, the taxpayers. That's right. And
So let's talk about the GSAs. We're starting ours up here. They've been talking about it. They had are going to have, or have they had that meeting yet? About
They've had
the-
several.
There's one
Okay.
tomorrow morning.
Okay, tomorrow morning. And what do you think about the fact that it's closed meeting?
I wasn't told it was closed. In fact, I was told to be there at 9.
Huh. There was an article in the newspaper this morning about our first district supervisor, Mick Gleason, saying that the meetings to set up the GSA will in fact be closed, and that they have that right because they're not under the Brown Act yet, because the agency isn't formed yet. And Mick Gleason was backed up by the
Board of Supervisors?
no, by the county council for the Board of Supervisors.
Oh,
And I
okay.
forget that nice lady's name, but
All right.
and although technically I agree with that technically they're not under the Brown Act, and so technically they can do closed meetings, in my opinion, it's really silly. It's very anti-citizen, it's very anti-transparency, it's very anti a lot of things, and they shouldn't be doing it, Mick Gleason. And so I don't understand their approach or their thought pattern to do that kind of thing.
Especially if the county's wanting everybody to get involved in this process.
But there is a
No.
problem with the GSA. The
There's
GSA, oh yeah, but there's one significant one for this valley. The GSA, to be a member of it, must have some official agency within which you join. So that
Or a water district.
A water district, and that's what I mean, a water district. How many private well owners, both small group private and us individuals, we are not represented, we cannot go and participate. We have no voice whatsoever, and
So you mean you might have to conserve 36% of your water?
we might have to do anything. And the point is, it's the old taxation without representation, only in this case, it's your water without any representation.
And how do you
Yes.
tell us to conserve 36%?
Yeah, how do
We
you
happen
tell?
to have a meter on our well, but we're the
I don't know. They're doing it to the residents of the valley right now.
Private well owners without
Yeah.
coming up with
Oh,
a
they'll
water
find a
meter.
way. They'll
Yeah,
find a way.
I agree with you
Unfortunately, we got to
completely.
take a break right now again.
Do we?
So, yeah,
Okay.
we have to take one of those breaks to pay the bills. Is
I
that
got my
okay?
earpiece in. I didn't hear a thing.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure we're due for a break, right? Yeah, okay.
Hope, hope, hope.
All right, join us on the other side of the break and we'll continue the discussion here about water.
Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk, the Thursday evening edition, for our final segment here, talking with Stu and Kathy Fields. Again, I'm Robert Eierman, along with co-host Al Huey, and we're talking about water. And during the break, Stu informed us that we did not allow him to enough time. Actually, it wasn't us; it was the commercials, to make one final point
On his solution if he were running the show.
Yes.
And that was?
That's it. Just a second.
After we abolished all ag and shut those wells down, then require all wells to have water meters so that we knew exactly how much water we were taking out of the valley, and limit all water users to 100 gallons a day per person. This can accommodate swamp coaters. This number was based on the fact that San Francisco made a study. They don't have swamp coaters, they don't have lawns, but it was 49 gallons a day per person. The Todd report claimed that we use 219 gallons a day per person here in the valley. All right, put sharp limits, and boy, here goes the growth people. Put sharp limits on introducing any new water consumers into the IWV without practical methods to address the additional consumption.
Yeah, that puts a...
I don't argue with you that, in your view, that's a good and practical solution. I would just argue with you that I don't think it's a great solution for the entire valley. If we were to do all of that, and it turns out that you're wrong, and we really do have more water than you think, we have started a process that, in my opinion, virtually destroys this valley's future. So I think that we're on the same team. We're just debating which path.
Good point you brought up, though. Suppose I'm right and we follow your method, though.
Yes.
Then we wipe the whole valley out.
Yes, I don't disagree with you.
What I think both Robert and I are concerned with, and I think you would agree, that once you get the government involved in any kind of new program or agency,
Things are going to get worse.
you
Absolutely.
I don't know of any that they've started that went away.
That's right. Okay, see,
So-
your alternative is a GSA.
I'm just concerned.
No, your alternative to my plan is a GSA.
Well, that's still government agency.
Exactly right. And it'll exist forever. It'll increase its scope. It'll increase its cost. It will
Empower.
cost you more in the long run for a GSA here in this valley than it will be to buy the farmers out.
On top of that, the
I
buying
agree
the
with you.
Because
farmers
the
out
buying the
is a
farmers out
one-shot
is a
deal.
one-shot buy.
Yes,
Running
Right.
a GSA goes forever.
Right.
right.
Right. I agree.
And I don't know how many millions or tens of millions it would take to buy out the ag in the valley, but it would be a large sum of money.
I'd love to be a judge on that. I would be looking at the pistachio farmers and saying, just what was your long-range business plan? Because you had to know that this valley was in an overdraft.
Well, and to play devil's advocate, their argument would be there's plenty of water in this valley to sustain us for a reasonable period of time, and we are not going to drain the aquifer dry, and would be their argument. And then they would say,
would say-
I have rights, I own the property,
Yep,
I have
agree.
rights to the water,
Yep.
and as long as I use it for a beneficial purpose, and we're going to argue now that your belief of beneficial purpose is different than my belief of beneficial purpose.
I've got another argument that says you can only use that law as long as you are not affecting my water. Now, when you're pumping it down, starts affecting the level in my well, okay, that law exists right now, and I can take you to court, but you're sitting there with $1 million law firm sitting there supporting you, and I've got to come up with mine to fight you with.
Right.
And I've got millions and millions to spend against you.
Yeah.
Because my profit every year is millions and millions and millions.
Yeah.
At $4 a pound paid to the grower for pistachios, that's a whole lot of money.
Okay, real quick, these GSAs, we talked, I don't know if the public is aware, the pistachios farmers out there off of Brown Road and in your current area out there have formed their own water agency, and they did that in order to be a participant in these GSAs. What do you think about the private well owners starting their own water agency so that they can be a part of it?
Again, the simple solution is to decrease the pumping here. Cut back on the pumping.
Yeah, but if you're not part of the GSA,
again, if you eminent domain buy them out, you don't need a GSA.
Well, we need to start putting money into a fund to do something.
Right.
Whatever that something is.
Right.
And at whatever rate we feel that fund needs to grow at.
And it should be tied to water consumption. So everybody should have a meter on their well, whether you're in a private well like we are or what, and especially the pistachio people ought to have one heck of a meter on their well. And you ought to be charged. I don't know whether you can do this in charging for water or not. I understand Ridgecrest doesn't charge you for water, they charge you for the delivery system.
Yes.
So there's a difference there.
Primarily.
So how do you charge somebody for consuming more that's on their own well?
I don't know.
I don't know. Something's got to be done, that's for sure.
And speaking of litigation, when the GSA forms, I know that there are lawyers, attorney firms just waiting in the wings, chomping at the bit to sue the state.
Sure.
Yep.
And so I'm not even sure that the plans that are supposed to be in place by 2020 and in 2022 and et cetera are even going to be there. It might be tied up in court. I mean, some land water district adjudications take decades.
Yep.
So I'm not sure that there's any certainty that the GSA will even be able to order their first pencil in the next decade or two.
You know, I was talking earlier about once an agency forms, it's hard for them to go away.
Hard, impossible.
But it made me think of back in the trash issue.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
How we made the
Waste Management Board?
California Integrated Waste Management Board
They went
go
away.
Yeah.
So I guess there is a possibility of defeating him, but it's small.
Well, they just got transferred, but in essence, they went away.
They lost a lot of power and
Yeah,
authority.
right.
My argument is my solution is cheaper than the GSA.
Well, I'm sure we're
I
going
don't disagree with you. I don't even, but I wish that we could get people interested enough to consider your solution and consider starting a fund to do what needs to be done.
The problem is
long-term.
too many people are sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
That's the problem.
And
We
they're
ran into this
They're
when we were
happy. They
discussing
turn
it.
on their
They
faucet.
just want to wait and sit back.
Plenty of water.
We started a petition to the county to
We only
reduce-
have a few seconds.
Yes.
We'll have to have you guys back on down after the first of the year, maybe.
We'll
We want to
glad
wish
to.
everybody a happy Thanksgiving, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all that. Don't know where we're going to be, but have a great time, folks. We'll see you later.